3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame show alongside Elijah Campbell, who is, I don't know, today there's a real Barry Gibb thing going on. It's when the chain is over the shirt.
Yes, when the chain's prevalent.
That you've got to, and I think your hair's getting a little longer. The last couple of days you've had a hat on.
Yes. Last couple of days the hat.
You know.
Yeah, but
at some point I'm expecting a little jive talking to come our way.
Halloween this year, yeah, already established.
All right.
Barry Gibb, without a doubt.
Yeah. But, well, you can let the hair, by the time Halloween comes, your hair will be about another, inch longer?
That's probably.
Not so much.
It'll be due for at least a trimming, just to keep the ends healthy.
I got you. Lots to get to on today's program. It's Top 5 Friday. We'll give you, if you didn't already hear it there at the end of the halftime show, we'll give it to you again here in just a minute. David Cloninger will join us coming up. It's not happening today, and it's not a guarantee, but I did throw this in our Twitter show rundown that NCAA leaders, whomever they may be, that decide the fate of the basketball tournaments will be meeting soon. And
I wish them the worst of luck.
And
I hope it's a miserable meeting.
It was Pete Thamel the other day, national college sports reporter for ESPN now.
I hope the food's cold.
Well, it's summer. They could have, cold sandwiches.
Well, I hope they smell funny.
Gazpacho.
I hope it's not to their liking. I hope the service is poor.
Too salty. Gazpacho's too salty.
Oh, way too salty.
Yeah. Anyway, they'll be meeting. And the belief, the prevailing attitude, if you will, is that we are going to see an announcement of the expansion of both the men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments from the current 68, if you will, to 76. And you will basically, on both sides, you will have 52 schools that make it, and then 24 schools that play in, giving you 12 winners. And I can do the math. 52 plus 12 equals 64. And I think the only thing they're waiting for, Elijah Campbell, is just to make sure that True TV can move Impractical Jokers off the lineup.
Well, this is what I'm really going to need.
Or that TBS can move some Friends reruns to
I'm
overnight.
going to need the Impractical Jokers guy to be the last line of defense and lay down the law and say no.
What is TNT's rate? Like a friend, I feel like TBS is Friends all day. True TV is either something with Court or Impractical Jokers. Right?
World's Dumbest Criminals.
Okay, yeah, there you go. That's at least indirectly court related. What is TNT's go-to rerun?
The Green Mile.
Hey, I like the Green Mile.
I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, my junior year of high school, missed a week of school because I got pneumonia really bad. And this is my first foray back into, daytime television in a long time. And I just couldn't help but notice, once a day that week. I don't know if it was just that week.
Yeah.
But the Green Mile was on TNT at least once a day that week.
Yeah.
For the entire week.
The Green Mile is the second best Stephen King, prison book behind, obviously, Shawshank. But I remember when the Green Mile came out, and it was a serial, Serial, novel release, like the old, and Stephen King said, I just wanted to do one. We had some of those when I was a kid, and I always wanted to do one. And I remember my wife and me being almost waiting at the door the next week down at the Barnes and Noble when the next 3 chapters would be released. And I still have there's 6 of them that came out over the course of whatever.
Oh, that's fun.
When the Green Mile was being released, it was amazing. It was all. Because she would read it first because she's just here, just give it to me because you won't read it as fast as I will. It'll take you 2 days because I kind of read here and then I'll stop and I'll do something else.
Yeah, I'm not a fast reader. It takes me a while.
But that was cool. But yeah, I do like Shawshank.
Oh, great movie. I've never read those books, but I have definitely watched both movies. Green Mile specifically on TNT.
I remember when Haney, speaking of Top 5 Friday, he and I did one time that was best Stephen King movie adaptations.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, number one for me would always be The Shining.
I love The Shining. I don't remember if I don't know if The Shining was on my top 5.
Oh, that would be.
And I do
unfortunate.
like that movie. I do. Thing is, it's not a great, I hate to say this, it's a fantastic movie, but it's not a great adaptation.
Well, yeah, there's some differences.
Because
there's a lot of
Kubrick wanted to make it about, the Jack Nicholson character, and the book is about the kid.
It's about Danny.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like most of Stephen King, especially the early work, it's about like the tortured minds of young children, which may or may not have been his life. I don't know.
It kind of sounds like
I don't know what happens up in Maine, man. It's like Stephen King and Cooper Flagg, like that's what.
Which are really two complete opposite ends of the spectrum, two different types of lives here.
But anyway, but DC is going to join us coming up in a bit. More from his perspective on Colin Murray Boyles. What a weird twist to the Colin Murray Boyles story, too. Now, again, indirectly, so it doesn't involve Colin himself, but we'll touch on that for you throughout the day. But an interesting little subplot to the Toronto Raptors that emerged in the last 24 hours, not even. So we'll do that for you, too. Braves fall to the Mets again. But they split the series in New York. I'm fine with that. The thing is, Snit was right last night in his postgame. We kind of needed to go 7-0 against these guys, and we went 5-2. And you'd think, like, man, 5-2 against the team like that this year is good. And it is. It is. But it's just not good enough. And now the Braves go to Philadelphia. Most of you know Chris Sale is on the IL for about another week or so. I think Grant Holmes has fallen into what I call the hell spot in the rotation where you just aren't getting the run support that you need to win a game. And that happened last night.
I don't know what kind of karmic failures happen in Grant Holmes' life to force him into this spot, but it's definitely not his hair and mustache.
Well, it's not his hair. I mean, is there a Samson thing going on there? I'm not sure. But nevertheless, not a good night last night for the Atlanta Braves. I hate to say just you don't go get swept. I hate feeling that way, but I kinda,
in any series.
I kind of feel that way this weekend.
Well, you're at home. I mean, I think you should. I mean, if you want to have any shot of getting yourself back in this thing, you got to start winning games against the Phillies.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll see, but maybe David wants to weigh in on the Braves. Who knows? Sometimes he does, and sometimes he just pretends they don't exist.
It's probably better for his health if he pretends they don't exist.
Lamont Paris was on with us yesterday. We'll revisit some of what Coach had to say about Colin's pick as well, and get into a few other things that are going on, including an interesting. We're not going to talk politics or government, but there was a Supreme Court ruling today. The Supreme Court gave out pretty much all of this year's rulings today, and one of them could impact what states are trying to do with their own NIL laws, or at least their own laws that preclude the NCAA from enforcement of rules. I don't know. I didn't have time to call an attorney about this. I did read a couple of things about it. We may touch on that for you a little bit later on, but I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on that. But we have seen a lot of states trying to run a lot of end arounds on the NCAA.
And they've been pretty successful.
They pretty much have, because they also seem to get the help of some judges every now and then. They go, yeah.
Go team.
That's right.
Just tell me where I sign.
That's right. And Cal Raleigh. Did you see the interview with Cal Raleigh on Dan Patrick?
No, I haven't.
You know what? Here's the. You know what? This doesn't. I say sadden. That's not fair. But Cal Raleigh is about to become like I'm going to say the 4th most popular Seattle Mariner ever. All right. I mean, I think. Look, Junior's number 1, followed
Randy
close.
Johnson and A-Rod?
Well, okay. Well, I wasn't thinking A-Rod, because A-Rod split time in other places. I was thinking I was going to give you
or Ichiro.
Yeah, Ichiro number 2, and a close second in my opinion, just because he had a global reach, and both he and Junior are transcendent talents. They aren't just Randy Johnson 3, but again, Randy spent time elsewhere. I mean, he started in Montreal and he pitched in Phoenix. But Cal Raleigh is about to become number 4. And it's just, I say saddens me, because they kind of just get buried like so far away. Like just think of how popular Ken Griffey Jr. and Ichiro are. Now imagine them for just a moment. Can't say playing for anybody else, but what if Junior played for the Cubs? What if Ichiro had been a Dodger or a Giant or a Yankee? And he was a Yankee for a minute, I get it, and a Marlin for a minute. And Junior went back home to the Reds for a minute. But we think of those two guys as Mariners. And I don't know where Cal Raleigh ultimately played. He's only 25, 26 years old. You know, do you stay in Seattle? I don't know. But he's hit like 60-something homers the last couple of years. But today, he became the second entrant into the home run derby behind one Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Atlanta Braves.
Star-studded already?
But Cal Raleigh is, I don't know yet. I don't know how people like to rank him. But he's probably making a current case, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, for the best catcher in baseball.
Absolutely, especially the best hitting catcher, and of course, he's pretty good behind the plate.
Yeah, he won the Gold Glove last year.
Yeah, won the Gold Glove. Yeah. So combine those two things. Yeah, I can't think of a catcher in baseball that's better right now.
Yeah. So, but he plays in Seattle, and just nobody ever gets to see him.
Yeah, it's kind of an afterthought. And the Mariners as a team have been really disappointing, too, for somebody that came into this year. Even if you're not expecting Cal Raleigh to hit for 33 home runs or however much it is before the All-Star break, that's still a team with their pitching staff, as good as it is. You expected them to be a serious contender in the AL West, and it hasn't fully materialized because the Astros are now just going to run away with that thing.
We'll find out who else gets into the home run derby, I guess, here in the coming days, because that's only 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's coming up, and it'll be in Atlanta.
While we're in Atlanta.
Should we go? You think the SEC is planning to take us? They didn't take us to the All-Star game. It's a weird coincidence that 2 summers in a row, SEC Media Days is being held simultaneously in the same city as the home run derby and the All-Star game.
I think this year they should let us go.
It's a lot easier. I promise you that, my man. It's a lot easier to get from downtown Atlanta. For as big as Atlanta is not the Dallas Metroplex.
No.
It's about. No. It might be roughly the same population. Dallas probably got a few more people, but man, Dallas is way more spread out. I mean, Arlington's like they told us, remember, because we could have gone to the stadium the next night.
But it's like, do we want to sit on a bus?
That's what you and I said. We were like, 45 minutes each way, and that's dependent upon some traffic.
Yeah, so I was like,
I've seen empty stadiums.
I've been in a few of them.
So we're good. We're good. Gamecocks get a big wide receiver commitment. We'll tell you about that. Pete Nakos of On 3 has spoken to Rasul Faison. Starting to worry about that one.
Yeah. What was it, like a month or two ago? We were like, oh, the more this drags on.
When did we have Shane? We had Shane on a Friday about a month ago.
Roughly, yeah. I mean, it was in later May.
Because it was right before the ramp up of the June camp and visit season. Because he told us then like, he was having a cookout that night. It was like day one, basically. So you know what? I bet it was like 4 weeks ago today. I think that would have been like June May 31st or something. I don't know. Anyway, it was, or maybe, I don't know.
We've approached a month since then and still nothing.
Yeah. It was like 23 straight days of work.
I don't think he's getting that eligibility.
I just don't. I think that 2019 entrance into school is going to be. I don't know what they sit around doing. Again, just tell him. Just tell him. But we'll have more from what Pete reported on from Rasul Faison. Good news for KJ Scobie. We'll tell you about that throughout the day, too, with a few Gamecock notes to get to. But it is Top 5 Friday. The new Superman movie is coming out here in a couple of weeks. I am anxious to see it. Whether or not that means I actually get into a theater or not is another story. I may.
When was the last time you've been in a theater?
You know what? When I went to see The Batman with Robert Pattinson.
Oh, wow.
I think it was 2 years ago.
That was more like 2021, I think.
That wasn't that long, was it? Don't tell me that.
21 or 22. That's like 3 or 4.
I just don't go to the movies anymore because they all come out and I have a big screen TV.
Yeah. But I love the movie watching experience.
Integrated media. Oh, I get it, dude. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Do you have a popcorn maker at your house the same way they do at the movies?
No, but I have a microwave.
Yeah, might not be the same.
Orville Redenbacher movie theater butter, my man.
See now, okay, now you're getting closer. You're getting warmer.
Top 5 superhero movies of all time. Your favorites, your critical acclaim, you choose. Only one wrong answer. I'll tell you what the wrong answer is on the other side of the break. We'll get into a few more things, too. It's the postgame show. Like I just said, integrated media has spoiled me, and many, many of you as well that are already integrated media customers and clients, because the systems they install in homes these days are amazing. You know, how big a TV do you want? They can pretty much do it for you. You want a Jumbotron? They can probably get it. You got a big enough wall, they'll put it in for you. Sound systems that are amazing built into your house, your ceiling, your walls, or the amazing Sonos speakers, all carrying that Dolby Atmos sound all throughout the home, one room, whole house. Outdoor systems as well. If you want to enjoy the fall weather here in a few months while you're watching your favorite football team play a game or whatever else, they can do that for you too. Plus, they can put your security system, your lights, your thermostat all into one place in the Control4 app on your phone or tablet. I'm telling you, they'll spoil you in a good way, I promise. 803-948-8327 for the best in home theater technology. It's my friends at Integrated Media. Nineteen minutes after 3 o'clock Friday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. You made it to a Friday. Congratulations. Top 5 Friday at that. Superman, the new one coming out here in a couple of weeks. Looks good.
I don't even think I've seen any commercials for it.
Trailers are looking good. Yeah. I mean, I hope. Listen, for somebody my age, a Superman movie is held to high esteem in terms of like measuring it against the Christopher Reeve one. Now I know maybe people of a certain generation would go, like the CG you could do better today, and
Right.
that's what they're doing with this new one. But that was a really good movie, and Gene Hackman was awesome as Lex Luthor.
Yes,
Christopher
definitely.
Reeve was great. Margot Kidder was great. Rachel Brosnahan is the Lois Lane in this one, Mrs. Maisel. Have you watched The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
No,
It's awesome. So good. It's like
I've heard it's really good.
it's like Broadway comedy meets a television show. It's fantastic.
interesting.
She's great, man. She's great. You should check it out. It's on Prime.
It is. Yeah, they're probably like what 3 seasons in it, I think? Or was it just like one of those?
No,
little
it was
miniseries?
there's at least 3. Yeah, maybe 3, maybe 4. It was a few. It's good. It's funny. It's really funny. Really funny. Tony Shalhoub is her dad. Monk, Wings.
Yes.
He's brilliant in it. But anyway, you should check it out. All right, so there is a wrong answer for Top 5 Friday. There's only one wrong answer. There might be some bad movies out there. And typically Top 5 Friday, we're very, we're not strict. We want this to be a fun thought exercise. We like to enjoy talking about things like this. Sometimes they're sports related, sometimes they're not. As it so happens, we've had 2 movie-themed Top 5 Fridays in a row. A week ago was the 50th anniversary of the release of Jaws. So last week's Top 5 Friday was scariest movies involving real animals.
And that inspired me to watch The Birds.
The Birds, right. Which we talked about CG, that we could, maybe even, like
We
there's
could make that thing terrifying.
maybe
today.
there's a Hitchcock film that could be remade.
Yes.
Unlike the need to remake Psycho, which we said was just stupid.
I think you could remake Birds in the year of our Lord 2025.
Yeah.
And really damage some psyches.
I think so. But the only wrong answer is Batman and Robin starring George Clooney. That movie was... You want me to be nice?
Be mean.
No, I can't be mean, because then I'll get fired.
Well, then why'd you ask me? If you're presenting me with that option.
That movie is dreadful. It's so bad. It was awful.
Which is why I find it so watchable.
Oh, God.
Because it is so bad.
All right, you know what, Elijah? Have a good weekend, man.
I watched that movie as a kid
Kale's
so
here.
many
Kale, you come
times.
sit over here. You can take my role today. I'm
so
going
many
home.
times.
I'm going home.
The writing in it's so bad. Like, I love watching it and laughing at some of the line delivery. Like when Arnold Schwarzenegger, makes his entrance as Mr. Freeze,
Yeah.
and he asks, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age, and then just starts freezing everything. It's so badly delivered that I can't help but find it hilariously amusing.
I think I do.
Hilariously
in
amusing.
some way, and again, I do not, I get your point. Like, here's the thing. I really believe that when Joel Schumacher, who's a fan, rest in peace, but was a fantastic filmmaker, got that script and wanted to make that movie, he was probably like a lot of people of that generation, and he's older than me, obviously, but that grew up on the old Batman TV show.
Shout out Adam West.
And I'll be perfectly honest with you, dude. The old Batman TV show, I loved. It was dumb. It was campy. It was basically a comedy, but it had
Yes.
Batman. I mean, and all my buddies. I mean, there's a whole American generation, really 2, because they showed them in reruns on TBS or whatever. I forget what channels, when we were growing. I mean, they came out in the 60s, and they showed them again through the 80s. So, the old Batman TV show was fantastic. I loved it.
I've seen the movie they made from it.
Yeah. And that was great because they had all the villains in one.
Yes.
I mean,
and it's hilarious.
Yeah, no.
Hilarious.
But it was supposed to be campy and dumb. Like, that was the charm of that show. And I think Schumacher just thought, you know what? Because, they'd basically told Tim Burton that he was too dark. And this will come up again later in the 2 Michael Keaton Batmans. And I think just Schumacher probably said something to the effect of, well, let's just go back and do what people love. And then, of course, Robin was in that movie. That sort of introduced, who's that actor?
Who played Robin in the George Clooney Batman?
Yeah.
That's Chris O'Donnell.
O'Donnell, thank you. And Alicia Silverstone. Like, I was intrigued by bringing Batgirl in.
Loaded cast.
You know, Uma. I mean, listen, I'll be perfectly honest with you. For a lot of young American males of the 1990s, to have Uma Thurman and Alicia Silverstone in one Batman film was after Michelle Pfeiffer had already been in one.
It's a good draw.
And Kim Basinger. I mean, you're doing all right.
It's a good draw.
You're doing all right. But the movie's terrible. It was awful. It was awful. So that's the wrong answer. So if you want to put that on there to spite me, whether it's you,
it might be,
or anyone else listening, that's cool.
I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't tempted.
But it's terrible. The Val Kilmer one is not very good either.
Jim Carrey was a funny.
But Jim Carrey was incredibly well cast. And see, I wish he had taken a little bit more of a dark turn because I think Jim Carrey, the actor, actually could have pulled that off.
Oh, for sure.
And if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong about this. I think they might have offered that first to Robin Williams.
Don't think it would have been the same.
Well, probably not. But Jim Carrey, I thought, was very well typecast.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but that's the wrong answer. Otherwise, well, not the Val Kilmer one, but the George Clooney one. Other than that, you can put whatever superhero movie. And again, if you put it on there, that's up to you. That's your own roll of the dice.
Cody in West Columbia says Daredevil with Ben Affleck was one of the worst superhero movies I can ever remember seeing. So I think he would say that would be a wrong answer as well.
I didn't see that. And didn't they make a Daredevil TV show too?
I was so young when that one came out.
Yeah,
I remember watching it as a kid, but I don't have like a lot of, I can't name you or recall many scenes.
Daredevil as a character, like a Marvel comic character, is a well done, character. But I don't think I ever.
It's a unique idea.
But I don't remember. I don't think I saw the movie. I know. Maybe it was on one time. I don't know. But I've got mine. We'll get into them in just a little bit and see what happens. Carolina has gotten a commitment from Indiana wide receiver Sequel Patterson. He is one of the bigger commits of the 26 class. Carolina bumps up a spot nationally to number 17 today. Again, these things are about as fluid as a raging river. So, yeah, I don't know.
17 today, 27 tomorrow,
Who
number
knows?
7 the next week.
Yeah, I mean, somebody out there in front of you goes and gets a big 5-star, and they're going to vault up the charts. So, but I still think that's about 8th in the SEC.
It's doable.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because really, how big of the difference being number 8 in the SEC to being number
It's
5
really
in the
like what
SEC?
Texas and Georgia are doing, and maybe Bama is a little bit. They got a few more
Separated.
5-stars, but
Yeah.
then like where Tennessee and Florida and A&M and Auburn and Carolina are.
Is it that much of a difference? No. I don't think so.
No. It's like one dude that went to a bigger high school has like 4 more catches, and that gives him an extra like 0.5 on his score.
And was seen by a couple hundred more people.
Yeah, something
It's
like
talked about maybe a little more.
Speaking of the Gamecocks, we'll get more from our good friend David Cloninger on the other side of the break. His thoughts on Colin Murray Boyles to Toronto, what it means for the program, a few other thoughts. And again, if DC wants to weigh in on both the Superheroes and the Atlanta Braves, we may let him. You're listening to the Postgame Show. All right, it's another hot one. We've been telling you about that. You want a pool in the backyard because you don't want to be hot all the time. Time to go to Griffin Pools and Spas, or just call them, or go online to griffinpoolsandspas.com and get one of their great pros over to your house and into your backyard. And let's figure out how to get this thing done. Because most importantly, once you get that pool, you got to invite Elijah and me over to jump in.
Because I will cannonball.
Yeah, it's not a written rule, but it's something that you should think hard and fast about because, I mean, we're great guests.
Yeah, we almost come with the pool.
That's right.
Not quite.
That's right. But whether it's something small just to go take a little dip in on a hot day, or maybe you've been to a place where you want something that is very cool and resort style, they'll make that backyard dream a reality, just like they've done for all kinds of families across the Midlands for decades. They're steps away from the Lake Murray Dam in Lexington. Stop in and see them for all the latest if you already have a pool, for your accessories, or to keep things clean. And again, go online and learn more at griffinpoolsandspas.com. Thirty-four minutes after 3 o'clock here on a Friday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. David Cloninger coming up in just a second. Top 5 Friday, your top 5 superhero movies of all time. This ahead of the Superman movie being released here, the new one coming out in a couple of weeks. We'll see if DC wants to weigh in on that. Braves. What you mentioned earlier, are the Braves back? They are back home tonight. So I screwed that up earlier.
They are.
I'm sorry. I was thinking the Braves are still just traveling up and down 95, man, from Miami to New York and then back down to Philly before coming. They're back in Atlanta tonight.
Yep.
Okay.
Made the trip back home.
Well, 95 does cross through Georgia, but just not through Atlanta. So, David Cloninger is with us here today. DC, maybe not going as planned. Do you think the Braves can make a run at the playoffs?
You bet. Jay, this season is deader than last night's steak. All right?
Ooh.
Ain't going to happen.
Oof.
It's done. It is over. It's been over for a while. ever since the pea-brained functional imbecile of a general manager said, I need bullpen help. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hire a fifth outfielder who'll get popped for PEDs 10 games in. That's what I'm going to do.
I think Erickson Profar comes back next week, too, doesn't he?
I shouldn't be so hard of him. Well, I shouldn't be so hard on the guy because I do understand he managed to get the straw into the Capri Sun on the first try just a week ago. So, but
easier said than done.
Whatever.
It is.
Whatever. I mean, I'll just sit here and just say, well, I guess my baseball season's been reduced to one, watching the I usually put a colorful metaphor in front of the word Mets. They'll choke it somehow.
Yes.
And then I believe, if my math is right, only 25 more games, and the Braves hit 63, meaning they don't lose 100.
Okay.
Hey, you got to have goals.
It's true. Goals in life are very important.
And sometimes those goalposts shift.
We shall see. Yeah. God, they're not going to lose 100 games, so I'm okay on that one. I think. All right, let's turn our attention to maybe more positive things. Colin Murray Boyles, the second highest ever Gamecock men's basketball player taken in the NBA draft. We had Lamont on yesterday, asked him about his butterflies, and he said, no, I didn't have any, just wanted it all for Colin. But from your perspective, David, you know Lamont, you know this program, you know this city. What does this mean for Carolina basketball?
Well, it's great publicity, Jay. You can say, yeah, I know that South Carolina may not have the best basketball pedigree, but look what it just did. It put a guy in the top 10 picks of the NBA. So that's always a good thing. It's really hard to screw up that kind of publicity. You just got to go take advantage of it. You need to be preaching that in every meeting you have with recruits. The social media team needs to be boasting about that as often as possible. And you just need to get CMB's face, preferably shaking Adam Silver's hand with that cap on, holding the Toronto basketball, being in a Toronto jersey. And you need to put that up as often as you can, wherever you can, to bring recruits to and say, that could be you in just a couple of years. So that's a really, really huge boost of publicity. Now you got to go make it count. I mean, you guys know that after the 17 Final Four, did you see any mention of that anywhere around for a while? Because I sure didn't. So you got to take advantage of this and, as they say, strike when the iron is hot.
And now, kind of asking you how we're going to start remembering his time here. Now that he's taken inside the top 10 with the Toronto Raptors, how do you think people are going to remember his time here once we get a little further removed and a couple more basketball seasons are played now that he won't be here?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question, Elijah, because we do know that sometimes it fades or it's like, well, maybe it wasn't that good or I don't think that you can overlook being the number 9 pick in the draft. But that said, he certainly deserved it. He was a huge, huge part of a team that tied the all-time wins record and made the NCAA tournament for just the 10th time in well over 80 years of the tournament. And then he was a guy who, I know they didn't have a great season last year at all, but it wasn't anything he did. I mean, he played his butt off every single night, so he was the guy that gave everything he had. And it really helps, what I was talking about before with the publicity, local kid. Columbia kid. I'm not sure what the actual distance is from AC Flora High to Colonial Life Arena, but it's probably less than 10 miles.
Oh, it's probably less than 5.
Yeah, so you can probably just say, hey, you can be a local standout here, which Columbia, South Carolina's had a very, very good basketball history, even if those kids maybe didn't come to USC, and just say, you can do that. You can be that guy. So I think that it'll definitely go down as one of the best careers in school history. I don't know about maybe number retirement or anything just because he only played 2 years, but still, everybody's going to remember what he was able to do here.
That's going to give us a second geography question. We had one yesterday, so a second in 2 days. So we'll look that up too. David, let's shift over to football. And yesterday, Manny Navarro of The Athletic had 3 Gamecocks in the top 17 players with Kilgore at 17, but he had Lenoris Sellers as the number 1 player going into the SEC season. I'm not going to sit here and ask you whether you agree or disagree. It's one writer's opinion, even if it's a good educated opinion like Manny's, but what do you think that says about Carolina football and the job they're doing? But at the same time, do you believe that applies even more pressure to this season?
Well, first off, good on Manny for not drinking the Arch Manning Kool-Aid. I think Arch is going to be a fantastic player, but he has yet to prove it, which means that a lot of this preseason hype, he's the best quarterback in the league. I'm like, he was so good that he's thrown 26 passes in 2 years and couldn't beat out Quinn Ewers. Yeah, I think I'll pump the brakes a little bit on that one. But preseason hype is preseason hype. Lenoris is a fabulously talented young man. I think they know that. I think that stuff like that will definitely underscore the point if we go down to SEC Media Days in a few weeks and the preseason all-conference team comes out. And if it's not Lenoris Sellers or Garrett Nussmeier, just because he's been there forever as first-team preseason all-quarterback, then something's wrong. It's even more wrong if Arch Manning is one of those two spots when he simply has not played yet. But there's always going to be pressure to win. We're in a high-stakes, high-money kind of gamble in college football. And, they know what's looking at them. It's them that we're saying, hey, we feel like that we got jobbed out of the CFP last year, and there's some truth to that. But with the target, so to speak, on their back this year, hey, these guys can challenge. You got to go out there and prove it. So I don't know if it adds any more pressure into what they've already got on themselves, saying like, man, we're this close last year, this close. And if you don't lose, was it 4 to LSU in that infamous LSU game, and you just don't show up to the Ole Miss game, maybe things are different. But that's what happened. And now you got to go out there and prove that last year was not a fluke.
David, I made an observation in looking at Manny Navarro's top 25 players in the SEC list, and I just want you to tell me what this observation means. South Carolina, in that top 25 list, had as many players as Alabama did and more than Georgia.
Well, it's hard to stay on top forever, Elijah. Georgia had an outstanding run, when they won 2 straight titles and played for a third. But Alabama had a terrific run under Nick Saban. But it's all a case, too, of, maybe it's not just the standout individuals, but do you have a terrific team? So I don't know how much you can put into that. It is one writer's opinion. But the fact is that you say, okay, is it going to be that the team succeeds because of this one player, or is it because he energizes the rest of the team to match his output? So I definitely think Lenoris Sellers has that capability. You saw it last year. But then again, there's a lot of guys missing from the success last year, and he's going to have to prove that he can bring these new guys up to speed and match that kind of ranking.
All right, one more summertime opinion question for you. Coastal Carolina making it to the finals in Omaha adds more pressure to Paul Mainieri, or can the pressure meter not be amped up anymore in Columbia?
Yeah, it can't be amped up anymore. I mean, the fact that this has been allowed to happen to this program is silly and absurd and ridiculous. The fact that over, 12 years now since they were last at the top, or 13 years since they were last at the top, no one stuck their head in and said enough is enough. We're stopping this right now. We're going to get back on top. This slow descent into mediocrity into this past season where they weren't even good enough to be mediocre. They were just flat out awful. That's, there's a lot of pressure to get this back up to where it needs to be, especially now that there is the confirmed thing of, hey, we put a lot more money into the program this year. Okay, great. Now you got to go win. Now you got to go make sure it was money well spent. So as good as Coastal is, not dogging them at all, but they don't have anything to do with how much pressure USC is facing. And I know that a lot of people were relieved that Coastal didn't win the title. It's like, well, I mean, it was great they won 1. That's fine. But, I don't want them to win 2 and tie South Carolina in history.
Right.
I mean, you just gotta go out and do and say, what are they doing that we aren't? Which that in itself is a major problem.
I want you to send us. We're up against the break here. Today is Top 5 Friday. You sent us one last week. Today it's Top 5 superhero movies. So send that to us, and we'll include you on the list. All right, Top 5.
Okay. Well, number 1 is a Spotlight. That's my favorite superhero movie.
All right, send that one in. Nice. Well done. That's David Cloninger, DCPNC on Twitter, postandcourier.com. Thank you, sir. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
It's the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Postgame show rolling on here on a Friday. Thanks, as always, to our very good friend David Cloninger, who feels confident that the Braves can still make the postseason.
He was so confident, he was laughing because he was so excited about his confidence. He just couldn't help but giggle.
I'm not quite sure that's what I was expecting when I asked him that question. I did expect a level of cynical negativity.
I mean, they're how many games below 500 now?
6, 7?
Yeah, and
Enough?
they will be under 500 by the time we get
6.
into July.
They are 37 and 43. Did you look up our geography question?
I did.
What do we got?
The distance between AC Flora High School and Colonial Life Arena is 4.5 miles.
Woohoo!
Look at you.
Do I know this town or what?
4.5 miles. It's almost like you spent some time here.
Well, I know. I live in that. I don't live like super near. Well, I live near enough to Flora, and I live near enough to downtown that I have an idea. I know how far it is from my house to here, and I know about how far it is from here to the arena, and then I know about how far it is from my house to Flora. So I tried to do some quick math.
You did pretty well.
I did all right. I said less than 5 miles.
And four.
I got a half mile to spare,
less.
man.
Yeah.
I could take us all the way across the river.
I could. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I've been here for a minute or two.
I had to go back and double check records here. And you said the Braves were 37 and 43. In our picks contest this summer, you were 37 and 45. So you were almost to the Atlanta Braves.
Thanks for that, Elijah.
I had to double check because it's been a few hours since I wrote it down. So
Yeah.
wait, are Jay and the Braves the exact same record?
Appreciate that. I don't know what that means
Sure
or
you're-
says,
sure you feel
but
great about that.
it's facts, right? It's just you're reporting fact.
Yeah, facts.
As I like to say, do with it what you will.
What does that number mean to you?
It means the Braves need a bleeping bullpen and a couple of more hitters. Top 5 Friday. Top 5 superhero movies of all time. However you see them. Again, there's only one wrong answer. And it's Batman and Robin with George Clooney. Anything else you put in there is perfectly acceptable. Franklin hits us. He says, Batman Begins. Infinity War. I haven't seen that yet. I'm getting to it. I did just watch the first Avengers movie, so I got to build up.
That's the only one I've seen is the first Avengers movie.
The Dark Knight, Captain America Civil War, and Thor Ragnarok. I have seen Thor. I didn't see Ragnarok. I like the Loki character. He's funny. He's good. That's a good bad guy.
That Tom Hiddleston?
No.
Is that his name?
Is it? Yeah, maybe. I think so. I don't know. I don't know names.
I barely know mine.
I'm sorry, Timmy. Lake. I like Lake's list here. He's like you and me. He put 6, though. I don't know if he just decided he needed another one.
It's a bonus.
The Batman.
I assume that's the 1989.
I think the Batman is the Pattinson one.
Ah, yes. I liked that.
Dark Knight. Mask of the Phantasm, which is the great animated Batman from the 90s.
Oh, yes.
Excellent movie. Batman from 1989. Spider-Man 2.
Interesting.
And his bonus is Batman Begins. So he likes him some Batman.
Yeah,
I do too, Lake.
same.
I do too.
We're on a very similar list.
All right, y'all send them in. We got some SEC Media Days questions for you, and we're going to boo the Big 12 at the same time.
Boo.
4 o'clock on this Friday. Welcome back in. It's the Postgame Show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. We're in downtown Columbia's Herndon Chevy Studios, wherever you might be on this Friday. Appreciate you being with us. Imagine a lot of you on a Friday like this especially may be saying sayonara to the capital city or the Midlands. Or if you're listening to us elsewhere, you might be saying goodbye to your town too, heading to the coast or up to the mountains.
I hope you're listening to us on a boat. That'd be cool.
It would. If you are, thank you.
Because then it made me feel like I'm on the boat with you, and I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, somebody call us from a boat.
And that way, we feel like we're on the boat too.
Yeah.
No, we're not. Power technology.
Maybe send us a picture. We'll put it up in here.
If you send us a picture of you listening to our show while you're on a boat, I might frame it.
Just make it safe for work.
Yes, please. Don't have any Easter eggs in there that I have to discover later, especially after it's already hanging on my fridge.
Usually I get the questions from Elijah on certain things. I'm going to ask him one because when they are NBA related, I need to ask him. I'm not always the best at answering NBA questions. We'll do kind of a PTI here. It is blank that the Raptors president and vice chairman Masai Ujiri has been fired by the ownership group of the Raptors / Maple Leafs. It is blank.
It is counterintuitive because if you're going to fire your GM, fine. Like I love Masai Ujiri. I think he is a great builder of teams. He built the championship team with the Raptors. He was the architect of that team.
Right.
He was the architect of a couple of really good Denver Nuggets teams, one of which I believe it was the 2012-2013 season, where they went on a 20-game winning streak and ended up being a 3 seed in the Western Conference, a loaded Western Conference with Andre Iguodala as the best player. That's impressive. He has built some really good NBA teams. And I think in his career, his teams win 57% of their games, and that even includes the last 2 years where the Raptors have won 30 and 25 games, respectively.
Is it just running out of steam? Because they say now, see, I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me pause just so you can come back to your point with the where the team, the franchise is right now, especially as they take Columbia's Colin Murray Boyles at number 9. He's the president and he's the vice chairman of the team. He doesn't technically have the GM title because that's someone else's. But is that one of those things where
he's making the moves.
I'll say like an NFL head coach that's his own offensive coordinator and play caller. I've got a guy who's, I'm air quoting, offensive coordinator. Kind of like
what Pete Carmichael was to Sean Payton in New Orleans.
Yeah, or
yes.
Eric Bieniemy to Andy Reid.
Yeah, like they're not calling the plays.
Right. And they're not really coordinating the offense.
Yeah.
It's
basically
so the same kind of thing. So even though Masai is not the general manager on his business card, he's calling the shots.
He's making the moves.
Yeah.
He's the one who made the draft pick. He was the one who I can confirm because I know what he looks like. He was in Nashville for the SEC basketball tournament.
Okay.
If you're not the GM and you're not the one making the decision
right.
to draft those players,
right.
You're not taking a trip to Nashville in the middle of your season to watch college
scout.
players, to scout, right? Like Masai Ujiri is the one who drafted Colin Murray Boyles.
I got you.
But if you want to fire him after this year, fine, whatever. If you want the roster to look different and you want to go in a different direction under some new leadership, fine, whatever. I probably wouldn't. But to do so after the draft is counterintuitive. If you want to have somebody else in charge of managing the roster, you do that the day after the season. That way they can conduct all of the pre-draft interviews. They can be the one at the combine scouting. They can be the one doing all of the work that is necessary to build the team in their image. You don't have somebody, the executive that you're going to fire, draft for that person. It's counterintuitive because you're bringing that person in or you're elevating them from within the franchise to make the decision. If you don't trust that person that you're going to elevate into the role or the person you're going to hire in that role to make the decision, you don't fire the guy that is making that decision. You don't let Masai Ujiri go through the entire pre-draft process, all of the combine evaluation, all of the interviews. You don't let him draft your first-round pick and then FaceTime him after drafting the first-round pick to welcome him to Toronto if you're going to fire him less than 48 hours later. That's dumb. That's not how you run the organization. Oh, yeah, league calendar changes and free agency starts on July 1st. That's Tuesday. So if you're not going to elevate somebody from within the organization, you got to hold interviews and hire someone before Tuesday. Because if you don't, the free agents that you thought were on your watch list probably not going to stick around.
How much, if at all, does this, I guess this doesn't really impact Colin himself that much.
Directly.
But, I suppose a lot now is answered by who fills this role.
Yeah, and how they want to build the team.
And what they want from what they have.
Because what the thing that we talked about leading into the draft in terms of the best fits for Colin? It's about the players around him to be able to maximize that skill set. Masai Ujiri drafted Colin because of what he can do and how it complements the players that are currently on the roster. If you bring somebody else in with a different vision, they can maybe be meeting with the Raptors head coach and say, hey, look, Darko, I know that Masai wanted Colin to come in here and make plays off of the short roll, be a defensive ace, but I really just want to post him up. I know it's 2025 and the days of Roy Hibberts and Al Jeffersons, and if you want to get players that were really good, the Patrick Ewings and Hakeem Olajuwon days, those are kind of over. No one's really playing with their back to the basket, but you know what? I want us to do this. You probably don't have Colin in the best spot there.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where sometimes the GM is in lockstep with the coach with how certain players are used. If the GM has a completely different vision for the franchise and wants to say, you know what? We got too many guys that are out there just standing and shooting threes. We need guys that can get to the rim a little bit more off of the dribble. And we want them to be able to make off of the dribble a little more. Maybe less cutting and slashing, less spot up threes. Then that will do Colin. How much of one is to be determined, but that would be doing him a disservice because then you don't get to highlight what he does well on a basketball floor.
So how much, and this is really not necessarily a question that you can answer directly, but how much does the pick, Colin, and the reason, as you just laid out, that the reasons he was picked, need to factor in if you're keeping the head coach, if you're keeping at least in title the general manager? Is this gonna be, what is this more about? And let's face it, look, they have won a championship, but this is the same ownership group, at least, that owns the Maple Leafs, and we've talked a lot about how it's almost laughable that the biggest city in Canada and the team that plays there in hockey hasn't won the championship since the mid-1960s. So, and Masai comes in and helps, what is still a newer franchise. I know the Raptors have now been around a while, but they're not the Celtics, the Lakers, the Knicks, et cetera. Do something that even the Leafs can't do. Like, how much of this is on ownership? How much of this is, hey, let's leave the basketball alone. This is more about not necessarily the business. Like, I'm just, that to me, there's a bigger picture here than just how this team plays basketball. So I'll be curious to see how that factors in.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And the Maple Leafs have their own problems because they're kind of running up against a cap issue. And in the NHL, well, before the advent of the, second apron, the NHL had probably the harshest salary caps in all sports and the hardest, caps. And they're coming up on that too. They're probably not going to be able to keep Mitch Marner, who was a big-time goal scorer, one of the reasons why they were so prominent on offense to pair with Austin Matthews. The Maple Leafs really have just drooled on themselves once they got into the playoffs, and now they got to figure out a way to keep as much talent as possible while not maybe sacrificing what they have and future assets too. So they're in probably a bigger issue right now. They're not in a rebuild. They're having to maybe retool a little bit to adjust to that salary cap and some of the issues that are coming up with expiring contracts. But with the Raptors right now, it's one of those things where when you have a guy in Masai Ujiri who, when they decided to kind of rebuild things and start anew with the roster, and he's already started that process, and they made moves last year for the future. They traded for Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram didn't play a game for the Raptors because he was still hurt when they traded for him. But you're expecting him to have a full season next year. You have a lot of guys that you brought in. Emmanuel Quickley was the guy they traded for, and they're going to pay $32.5 million for next year. But he hasn't played a full season yet, but he's played well when he's on the floor. There's a lot to see through. And that's the one thing that I have an issue with them making the firing and the change, even if they would have done it when the season first ended, was there's still some things that I think that are worth seeing through with the way they have the roster constructed right now.
Well, I don't want to sit here and make this too negative. I don't know enough about what's going to happen next.
Somebody can come in. Yeah. And they got, they have $19.5 million before they end up hitting the second apron. And in terms of what they have in cap space, they're probably they don't have much. But you can probably sign a player and do some stuff with the contract and backload it and be able to maybe squeeze a free agent in that can help you win right now. But for the most part, the roster's kind of set.
Is this a team that is looking, in your opinion, and they won 30, you said?
Yeah, won 30 games last year.
And help me out. I don't
25
have
the year before.
I don't have the standings in front of me. The now, 7, 8, 9, 10 have the play-in on both conferences. So what was last year's 10th place team in the East?
Miami had 37 wins. They were 7 games out of the play-in.
And they were 10. So Toronto was 7 games out. Okay.
Yep. Toronto was 7 games out.
Miami was 37, so under 500, but that got them in a play-in.
And they end up winning 2 games and end up being the 8th seed in the playoffs. Thanks.
Well, then Hawks. You don't need a drastic turnaround, and maybe this year's East, maybe the top Cleveland. I don't know if Cleveland's coming down a little bit.
I expect Cleveland to still be pretty good. Boston's going to be significantly different because of the moves they made, and they're not going to have Jason.
And we don't know if New York's going to be good.
You don't know what Indiana's going to look like in a full season.
Orlando just made an interesting move with Memphis to make something happen. Of course, something happening doesn't always mean it's something good.
Right. And the Bucks will be without Damian Lillard.
And it's Orlando. I don't know that there's always a lot of reason to believe in Orlando. Atlanta could be better.
Yeah, Atlanta could be. Like there are opportunities.
Does Charlotte still have a team?
Allegedly. They won 19 games last year. A full 11 behind this Toronto team that felt the need to fire their main executive.
What's our record? 8-16. 8-16. How do we ever win 8?
Charlotte Hornets. What's our record? 19-63. 19-63.
We'll come back on the other side. Again, Top 5 Friday. Y'all send in your entries, 803-404-6100. Your top 5 superhero movies of all time. Superman will be released, a new version coming up soon. Looks good. Trailers look good, but they can even make real bad movies look good in a trailer.
They can. I've seen plenty of bad movies with good trailers.
Editing. Yeah, I think Caddyshack 2 looked funny when I was in high school.
Didn't play out that way.
It did not, Elijah Campbell. It did not. In fact, I would rather watch and rewatch Batman and Robin with George Clooney than ever have to watch Caddyshack 2 again.
That says a lot.
Caddyshack is one of the funniest films in the history of comedy.
I bet the Batman and Robin trailer was pretty good, too.
I bet it was. Dude. George Clooney, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and again, Uma Thurman and Alicia Silverstone? I mean, come on. They could just sit there and have stuff blow up a couple of times. You're like, I want to go see that. And then you do. And you're like, oh, I can't get that money back.
Nope. You never will.
And then the popcorn just sits in your stomach, and you're like, I don't have a stomachache.
And then you can't unsee it either.
No. All right. Anyway, send in your top 5 superhero movies. We'll come back on the other side. Again, some SEC Media Days questions. We're still a couple of weeks away. Don't fret. But kind of things we're looking at. And one reason that, as we said, that we're going to boo the Big 12. They deserve it. You'll see why coming up. Welcome back in. Postgame show rolling along on this Friday. Jay and Elijah with you. Appreciate you being with us. Coming up, more on Top 5 Friday. Top 5 superhero films or movies of all time. You want to get to a couple more real quick?
We do have some dissent on the text line, the Firehouse of text line. It says, Batman does not count as a superhero. He has no superpowers, just a large bank account.
I disagree.
I disagree, too.
I disagree. I get that. That's kind of what makes Batman cool.
Exactly.
It's like, in a way, Batman could happen.
Is a possibility.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you know, if you had the means that Bruce Wayne has in real life, like Bill Gates could have become Batman.
That's the only unfortunate thing in terms of the reality part of that is that most people that have the money that Bruce Wayne does in real life are too big of dorks to be able to pull off a maneuver like that.
Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, who's now trying to buy Italy. Not really.
Maybe an island.
Yeah, they're mad at him over there. He should have just written a check to whomever for hey y'all, here's $100 million for your whatever. Enjoy,
yeah, have at it.
And I'm just renting a bunch of stuff anyway. But yeah, somebody could be Batman, and I think Iron Man, somebody could technically. Might be harder because the suit, does the flying, not the person.
Yes, because
but Tony Stark is also a wealthy industrialist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why, by the way, have you seen the Lego Batman?
Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
Well, okay. So spoiler alert here because I just think it is so incredibly funny. But Batman's password for his security system. In that, you remember what it is?
Is it Batman?
No, it's Iron Man sucks. Just thought that was great.
Just a great,
so good.
Great tidbit there. A little bit of rivalry.
By the way, seriously, y'all, I should probably put Lego Batman on my list. There's an honorable mention. If you've never seen Lego Batman, I like the Lego movie. That was funny. Lego Batman is just spectacularly funny. It is so well done. Michael Cera as Robin, but man, it's and there's so many nods to all the Batmans.
The Batman.
Yeah, it's great. It's so good. But I do every time he types that in, Iron Man sucks.
Iron Man sucks. The password to everything.
That's good. So I get it. I get it. He's not a mutant or have any, he can't fly on his own or shoot, heat.
Or make things move by themselves.
Yeah, he can't do any. I get it. But he is a superhero. Certainly for the purposes of this discussion.
Yes. Batman movies count.
Yeah, sorry. But thank you for the dissent. I appreciate it. Dissent is fine. This is America.
Yeah, we accept.
Yeah, this is America. All right, so before we get into an SEC question, let's tell you why we're going to boo the Big 12. Elijah just told me this, and I said, hold on to it for a second. So tell everybody why we're going to boo the Big 12.
Yes, because right as we were about to get on the airwaves here, I believe on 3 is where I saw it. Don't know if that was who initially reported it. Brett McMurphy. So it's a Brett McMurphy report. Says Big 12 coaches and ADs have decided to stop doing the conference's preseason media poll.
Boo. Why?
Why? Fun exercise.
I mean, that's sort
Who's
of
asking for this?
That's right. Well, them. I think that the biggest question would be, what are you afraid of?
Right.
If you're getting rid of it, you feel there's something harmful in it. Because otherwise, what's the point? And I feel like the opposite is true in the Southeastern Conference in the sense that, you've only been going for a couple of years. I've been going now for 20-something. One of the recurring themes every summer of media days is the coaches will stand up in the big room and kind of do the point you guys got it all wrong last year, didn't you?
They love that.
They love
doing that.
You know, and we're like, yep, we sure did, Coach. You know, because that's what it is.
Kenny Dillingham will get to do that at Big 12 Media Days this year because they were picked, I think, last or one of the bottom spots in the Big 12, and they won the whole.
You know, so that's your fans like that. Again, remember, people can hate on the media all they want to. That's fine. But we're the conduit to the fans. That's the whole point. That's what Media Days is for. It's for all of us in local markets, regional markets, national markets to go to those events in an otherwise slower period and cover a sport that is beloved and talk about it.
Get you excited for the season.
And tell you what we think, and then you tell us what you think. A lot of you weigh in. You guys are crazy. I think you guys are spot on. I think you guys are somewhere in the middle. I think this, I think that. I mean, I haven't looked, but how many people don't agree with what Manny Navarro said yesterday about Lenora Sellers being the best player in the league?
There are probably some Georgia Bulldog fans that looked at that and said, only 2?
Right. Or, I mean, how many in Texas? How many in Tuscaloosa? How many in wherever, that don't agree with it? That's okay. This is what we do. This is why you and I have a show. This is why there are shows across the South and across the country. I mean, we talk about these things. And, we don't want to get into, like, crazy, angry rants. Sometimes I do. But again, seriously, like, the only reason to not do it is because you're afraid of what it's going to say. And the irony there, too, Elijah, I think in some way, the conference, and we've talked about this before in a different manner, in some way, the conference that might be the most fun to talk about, the most fascinating to discuss, is the Big 12, because we've given them their props for really how many do they have now? 14? I don't know how many they actually have. They don't have many. They don't have 12 anymore, right?
Yeah.
And again, with the exception of UCF and Cincinnati, who I'm sorry, I just don't think you're going to do much. UCF might. I just don't see Cincinnati. I think they caught lightning in a bottle a couple of years ago. I'd like to be wrong. But like you mentioned, Utah, but now Arizona State and what they're doing. TCU has played for a national championship. Baylor has had Heisman winner. Texas Tech has got gobs of money. Kansas State has a 30-plus year history of being good at football. Lance Leipold has Kansas playing good football. Mike Gundy and them failed miserably last year. I do not expect Oklahoma State to go for the conference again. Iowa State and Matt Campbell have just continued to kind of chug along as the engine that could. That's a fascinating league.
It's the one that's the most volatile. Like, it's the one where you can look at the media rankings before the season, and those are the ones that are hilariously out of sorts. It's probably the toughest one to predict because Big 12 football can get weird, man. That's the fun part of it.
I mean, why not you need chatter about your league, because the one thing you don't want is to not get talked about. I'm going to make a weird example here to give you a point I'm going to make. And I'm not playing politics here. I just remember this. Several years ago, when Rudy Giuliani was running for president, South Carolina has one of the first in the nation primaries, right? And Rudy's team decided to skip South Carolina because there's only a few votes, and they spent all their time in Florida. Meanwhile, everybody else, and Florida's was like 2 weeks later, everybody else was in Columbia and Charleston and Greenville and Rock Hill and Florence and Myrtle Beach every day, eating barbecue and shaking hands and kissing babies. And guess what? By the time Florida came around, Rudy was dead because nobody was talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
And the point I make here is, hey, Big 12, if you don't have people talking, and now you might just say, well, we can think they're good. Have a vote. Have something that's tangible for people to participate in and then look at and laugh and scoff and ridicule if you want to, the way SEC coaches do to all of us. It's part of the give and take. It's part of the banter. Again, what are you afraid of, Big 12? Again, I keep coming back to that theme. What are you afraid of? Because there can't be anything that you think is going to be good for it. Well, we just, unless like, we didn't want to pay, the company that tallies the votes. Okay, like that, is that what
boy behavior?
Is that what we're doing here?
They just don't admit that they're engaging in broke boy behavior.
Yeah, I mean, look, if nothing else, just throw up an app on or a poll on your app. Right?
There are other ways
Twitter
to do
poll.
this.
Let Twitter count it for you.
Like, it's just fun. Like the part of the polls are, it's fun. It's discussing and celebrating the start of college football, and it gives people, like, again, like what you said, and really just echoing this, like, it just gives other people something to talk about, right? Not even just for people like us that do what we do on a daily basis, but you and your buddies. If you're, let's just say you're a Kansas State fan, your buddy's an Iowa State fan, and they're playing in Ireland for some reason to start the year, and I don't know if that's going to count as a conference game, but whatever. But if you're ranked ahead of them, like, you can be like, hey, look at this. Or, hey, look, we finished outside the top 10. Guarantee you, bet $5 that we're top 5 at the end of the season.
Come back on the other side. Elijah and I will get into a little bit of what we want to see from SEC Media Days. What's your biggest question that you want to learn over in Atlanta in a couple of weeks? We'll get into that and more. And again, Top 5 Friday favorite superhero movies. It's the Postgame Show. No better place than Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union to finance your next vehicle. Palmetto Citizens offers fantastic low rates on all new to 2021 models. Many options for older vehicles, too, if you have that younger, newer driver in the house, or you just need something maybe out on the farm or, something like that to just go beat around in, hey, they can do that for you, too. Many of their plans come with no payments for up to 90 days. And at Palmetto Citizens, they can finance over 100% of the retail or purchase price on those new to 21 models. Plus, they've got additional coverage and insurance options that dealerships cannot beat. So go shopping for that next vehicle all across the Midlands or anywhere else. Then log on to palmettocitizens.org and find out how much you can save. And when you log on to the website, you might really say, ooh, wow, they're not kidding. 14 locations across the Midlands. Fantastic people to work with. My wife and I are members. Join us at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. With several accidents to get to you, they're causing some issues on the roadways, including a pretty significant one on 26 westbound between Burke Road at exit 139 and US 21 at exit 129. Also have accidents on Bush River Road at St. Andrews Road, Dooley Road at Two Notch Road, Highway 17 southbound at Burgess Road and Sunnyside Avenue, 77 northbound at Farrow Road near exit 19, Oakley Road at Goose Creek Boulevard, and lastly, one on US 176 at Broad River Road near St. Andrews Road.
Welcome back in. Post-game show rolling on here on a Friday. Jay and Elijah with you. Top 5 Friday, top 5 superhero movies. This ahead of the release of the new Superman movie coming up here in a couple of weeks. Got a couple more hits on Twitter. We'll get you on the text line as well. Thank you for weighing in. Let's see. Jason says Batman. That's the Michael Keaton, because he says 1989. So the Michael Keaton Batman.
Good call.
Then Dark Knight. That's number 2 of the Christian Bale.
That is the Heath Ledger Joker.
Yeah. Deadpool. Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Nice. That's outside the box.
Yeah.
I like that.
But
that.
Conan the Barbarian was a Marvel comic hero back in the day. I remember that one. James Earl Jones is in that. And he says all of the Rambo movies. I don't know that I'd ever thought of John Rambo as a superhero. I suppose he is rather heroic. But again, this is Top 5 Friday, so we'll... You know what? The Rambo movies are underappreciated from a story perspective.
I've never watched Rambo.
You'd like it.
That's another one I have yet to see.
You'd like it. I mean, Sly, justice is served, man.
Yeah. I am an appreciator of served justice.
Yeah. That's what I'll tell you. But the first one is, I thought it's good. Look, it's not going to change your life, and it didn't win any Academy Awards.
But it's a fun watch.
Rocky did.
Yes, Rocky won a lot of awards for good reason.
But
a lot of fun lore behind Rocky,
good.
too.
It's good. All right, here's one that sent like a whole then he says, I think you said top 5, I need to stop. He sent like 10. But
we need you to narrow it down.
But since he wrote them in, or I'm gonna just say I'll just say the top 5. Iron Man, Venom. I never saw Venom. That's one of those Spider-Man like spin-off things, right? Like, isn't that technically kind of a Spider-Man? Then Spider-Man, but I don't know which one, because my God, there's been a lot of Spider-Mans of late. Captain America and the Incredible Hulk. All right, so very DC-centric there, or Marvel-centric there. Excuse me. See, Ryan says Dark Knight, Spider-Man 2, Unbreakable. Do I know that?
Can't say
I don't know
familiar.
Unbreakable. Sorry.
I'm more familiar with Breakable.
I like this one, though, out of the box, The Incredibles.
I thought about putting that one on there. I genuinely thought about it.
What?
I love The Incredibles.
Both of them are really good. They're good, man. And in fact, there's one you could keep making. If Pixar and Disney want to keep making stuff, there's now been announced a Toy Story 5.
Do we need another Toy Story?
Well, they're making one, man.
They do sell a lot of toys that way. I can tell because they made a lot of money from my household back in the 90s.
And Constantine. I didn't see that, but I know of it.
I know of it, yeah. Keanu Reeves, right? No, it's not.
Wasn't it? No, you're right. I don't know. Look that up.
I'm tripping.
And then Donnie says Dark Knight, The Batman. Again, that's the Robert Pattinson. Avengers Endgame.
It is Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I thought so.
Do it.
Yeah. Deadpool versus Wolverine. Didn't see that. Know of it. I do like some of those X-Men movies from back in the day. With, I like the X-Men. I remember the X-Men cartoon when I was in college.
Classic.
That was good. And Guardians of the Galaxy. And we'll give you that.
I love Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, those are good, too. Ernest wants to weigh in on the phone line with his top 5 superhero movies. What's up, man?
Okay, I don't know if they're really movies, but I'm going to throw you off, Jay. Yeah, you got to go with the number 1 superhero of all time, Bartman.
Bartman, okay, sure, Bartman, yes. Bart
and
did very well for himself.
You got to go with the Minions 1 and 2.
Minions, okay.
You know, Gru, he is the man, and, you know, I'm just going off the wall with this. And then you got to go older school. Skeletor with He-Man.
He-Man, I'll give you. Yeah, they did make a He-Man movie with Dolph Lundgren. I did not see it, but I do remember that.
And then we're going to go real old school for cartoons. Go back to when we were younger, Jay, the Thundercats.
Thundercats, I remember. I was not a huge fan. I'll tell you, I liked Space Ghost and, oh, man, what was the Herculoids? Yeah, but I can't tell you I knew a lot about Thundercats. I remember Thundercats, but I don't know that I paid a lot of attention.
But everyone's got to do the Bartman.
Yeah, the Bartman. I remember that not long after The Simpsons became a thing. Thank you, Ernest. Have a great weekend. Yeah, I haven't thought of the Minions as superheroes.
That would not have come to mind.
No.
I guess they have powers in their own way.
And Trey hits us. He's yelling at us. Did you see this? Trey says, so disappointed in you, he says to me, so disappointed in you and Elijah for not watching the Marvel movies as they come out. Jay, if you like Loki, you should watch the Loki series on Disney+. It's 2 seasons and it's good. On that note, Trey, my daughters yelled at me because I started watching because I had seen Thor, and I like the Loki character, and I know he's in the original Avengers as a bag, and they're like, Dad, you can't keep watching Loki. It's going to spoil too much of the other stuff in the Avengers, so you have to stop. I was like, but it's funny. It's good. I like it. And they're like, no, you can't. Just trust us. So, unfortunately, Trey, I watched like the first 2 episodes on Disney+, and because my daughters knew that at some point I did want to watch the Avengers films, they were like, you have to stop. I was like, okay. I think I know why, because I suppose from a timeline perspective, the Loki series is maybe after a lot of that, and so I
see their point. Yes, they want to keep your plot line linear. Here.
And Disney, I will give Disney Plus credit for that. They there's one of the things when you can go like into the subheadings of the different Marvel movies, and they do have like. They've
sorted it out for you.
The timeline.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. If you're going to make that many movies, you got to follow it all.
And that's there's the trick, Elijah Campbell. There's the rub. There's a lot of movies, man.
It is, and that's why I
watch a lot of sports. That's why people get mad at me. Like, have you seen so and so or whatever team? I'm like, y'all. It's not that I don't want to, but I watch a lot of live sports, and I only got so many hours in the day. And by 10 or 11 o'clock every night, I'm sleepy. I can't.
I'm sleepy before that sometimes.
Yeah, I can't do what I used to. I got to get up in the morning.
Have you ever thought of yourself as a superhero, Jay?
Sure.
Well, good, because you're not alone. Somebody else on our text line, our Firehouse Subs text line, says, my top superhero is Jay Phillips for that Old Bay goldfish wreck earlier this week. A real one.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Now I got to do it.
Appreciate you.
I got to make the same jump that you did with goldfish, my grandmother did with Marlboro Gold. So I got to go from pack to carton.
I showed you what I did. I told you what Pops Frisbee said about your grandma comment on that. That was.
Oh, I commented. Yeah, paint peeling off the walls and everything, brother.
That was really funny. That made me laugh. That was good. Did not see that.
Funny.
Did not see that one coming.
Paints a very vivid picture.
That's right. All right. So, this is like lame for most people when it comes to what I want to get out of SEC Media Days. All right. I know it is.
Are you just going to say you hope everybody's still friends afterwards?
No. Not that. Not that.
Because I want beef. I want hatred.
I'm not overly concerned about what quarterback is number 1 in the media vote. I don't think it's going to be Lenoris. It's not about Lenoris. Because I'll probably tell y'all I'll probably vote Lenoris number 1.
Yeah, same.
But I don't think it'll be. I think it'll be Nussmeier or Lagway or Arch.
Yeah, the Lagway and Arch thing is just purely projection.
But I could be wrong, and that's fine. But that's not what I'm here for. I just want to know when they're going to bleep and figure out how many games we're going to play. Because soon enough, they need to make a schedule for 26 and 27 that doesn't have the same teams on it.
How many games and who you're going to play, too. What's the next rotation?
When's Carolina going to play Georgia again? When's Carolina going to play Tennessee again? When's Carolina going to play Florida again?
Miss those games.
Especially Georgia and Tennessee. I mean, Florida, it's not that I don't want to play Florida anymore around here. But not playing Georgia sucks. Not playing Tennessee sucks.
Yeah.
It's just not, and maybe those two schools don't care as much as people around here care. And maybe some of you are like, Jay, shut up. I don't want to play Georgia all the time anymore. And that's, if you feel that way, cool. I don't.
I love the geographical closeness of South Carolina to those, all three of those schools.
Yeah, I want to play Georgia every year. And I lived through a period where Carolina was kind of 50-50 in with Georgia and Tennessee and Florida. And I'll take that. Because that means you're in the ring, fighting it out, and you're capable.
Absolutely. I mean, they can hang with it. They can hang with both those teams.
I'll take that,
If South Carolina and Tennessee played this year, I'd pick South Carolina to win in a heartbeat.
So that's what I want. We'll see what Elijah says, and we have a little J or Nay, more Top 5 Friday superhero films, Top 5 superhero films. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of our second hour coming up. Top of the 5 headlines. We'll get into a few more Gamecock notes, including a pretty good pickup in the football recruiting wars. We'll do that for you in just a bit. Drive around the SEC. And again, it's Top 5 Friday, your top 5 superhero movies. This ahead of Superman being released, the new one coming out in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to it. May not see it in the theater. May. We'll see. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, Superman going to sell a lot more than the movie that I'm trying to make right now called Normal Man. I don't know if that one's going to be as much of a hit.
Normal Man. Greatest American hero when I was a kid.
Normal Man.
Yeah. Hey, why not?
He brings his lunch pail to work.
You got a couple on the text line you want to get to?
I've got one on my personal text line from our boy Cale Wilson before he left the building. And he says, number 1, Spider-Man 3. Number 2, Captain America Civil War. 3, Deadpool. 4, Spider-Man No Way Home. 5, Avengers Endgame.
The No Way Home, is that the animated one?
I believe so.
Because people say that one's awesome.
I've heard great stuff.
Yeah. The thing is, there's so many Spider-Mans these days, and they keep rebooting it, and they're all the original. I'm like, what was wrong with the Tobey Maguire?
It's a lot of Spider-Man.
There are, man. And I like those.
It's literally the meme.
You know, yeah.
Pointing at each other.
The first 2 Tobey Maguire ones that are now probably 20 years old.
But he had Spider-Man 3 is his number 1. That is Tobey Maguire.
Okay. Who's the bad guy now? Did I see that one?
Venom, I believe.
I think I saw that. I don't know. I've seen a lot of movies. But I like the first 2. Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin was good.
Very good.
Very, well
Very
cast.
Good.
You know?
I like Willem Dafoe in general.
Yeah. All right, game show music time. Let's do a little Jay or nay here.
Absolutely.
You got any superhero questions in here, by the way? Or?
Not today. Didn't incorporate any, you know. Okay. Jay or nay, Steve Spurrier's assessment of Arch Manning not being that good because he sat behind a 7th-round draft pick is disappointing in its inaccuracy.
It was, it was just so very Coach Spurrier.
It's on brand.
He's like, if he's that good, why didn't he play? It's a fair question.
I don't know if it is.
A little. I mean, look, Quinn Ewers is good, and I think Sark just didn't want to. I don't know. I'll give you a J on that one. It's mildly disappointing, but again, it's so Spurrier that
Because if anyone's going to know the difference between playing in the NFL and college and quarterbacking in it, you'd think it's Steve Spurrier. And the quarterback after Danny Werfel, I don't think deserves to be ragged because he couldn't beat out Danny Werfel because Danny Werfel wasn't a top pick.
Fair.
Plenty of examples.
Yeah.
Plenty of examples.
Yeah.
Because I've been hearing that take going around, and it just makes me roll my eyes.
When I saw it just made me laugh. I was like, that's such a good Steve Spurrier question.
That's a classic Steve Spurrier
How rhetorical
question.
Was it really? I'm not sure. He said that on a Pat Dooley show, right?
Yes, he did. Here's a juicy one. Jay or nay, the Panthers will finish ahead of the Falcons in the NFC South this year.
Wow. Sure, why not, Jay? I have no idea.
For giggles.
I mean, it's still a bad division.
It is.
I don't know why I got a hunch that this year is another one of those 8 and 9 wins the NFC South.
It very well could, which means 7 and 10 could get you second.
Yeah. But again, if somebody's going to get a home game out of that, yeah, sure. Sure. Jay.
Last one, J or nay. Ace Bailey is a walking red flag and is an automatic headache for the Utah Jazz.
Jay, and I don't get this. You and I were talking about him this morning a little bit. Like, I'm not sure what it is that made Ace Bailey, who's from Atlanta, Georgia, and played at Rutgers, want to play for the Washington Wizards unless, like me and many others, he just wants to live in Washington. Now, Washington's a fine town. I love Washington, D.C. But, yes, for the Jazz, like, what were y'all thinking? That's my question. Hour 3 coming up.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon, starting with one on Dooley Road at Two Notch Road, Emmanuel Church Road at Old Barnwell Road, Killian Road near I-77, Platte Springs Road at South Lake Drive, and lastly, we have one on Two Notch Road at North Grampian Hills Road.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Friday. Welcome back in. It's also the final hour of the postgame show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We start with some good news for Gamecock football fans. Last night, four-star wide receiver Sequel Patterson of Indian Land High School up in York County committed to the South Carolina Gamecocks. Our buddy Chris Clark reminding us that he reclassified from the 27 class, so he'll be coming into school next summer. 6 foot, 170-pounder, had offers from Michigan, Tennessee, A&M, North Carolina, Kentucky, Virginia Tech, Maryland, amongst many others. He is also, says Chris, an excellent defensive back. Last year, he had more than 1,200 all-purpose yards. He is listed as a four-star wide receiver. Has him as the number 228 prospect overall, regardless of position. He is ranked number 9 in the athlete category. He is the 5th best prospect in South Carolina. Mike Furry playing a big role in his commitment. That move, at least for now, puts South Carolina at number 17 overall, up a spot from earlier in the week, and that is good for 8th as we speak in the Southeastern Conference. Southern California currently has the number 1 overall recruiting class. A&M is number 1 in the SEC with Georgia right behind them. LSU, Georgia's 4th, by the way, A&M 3rd in the country, again, as we speak. But as I also mentioned, these things are about as fluid as a raging river this time of year. So
all that matters is that your recruiting class for your favorite team is number 1 in your hearts.
That's right. LSU 6, Alabama 8, Clemson 9 for what it's worth. Texas 13, Florida 14, Tennessee 15, again, Gamecocks 17. And the next SEC school behind the Gamecocks is Oklahoma, coming in at number 22. Good news for Gamecock baseball fans. Excuse me. KJ Scobie has been invited to USA Collegiate National Team tryouts. He becomes the first Gamecock to go to this one since Ethan Petrie did so 2 years ago. Carolina has had 12 players make this team, most recently Will Sanders, back in 2021. And, of course, it was better news when Carolina fans heard that KJ was going to hang around.
It is.
There was probably a little angst for a minute or two.
When you have the year that you did, you know, there's no guarantee of any of your better players coming back. And KJ showed a lot of promise last year as a freshman. And you would like to keep, you know, we talk about freshmen who are able to make impacts. Him and Bo Holland certainly are the first two you think of. And Gavin Braylon got a little better behind the plate. So you'd like to get those guys back, and the more that these guys get to do in the offseason and get to fine-tune their skills, the better. We've seen plenty of instances of guys after a freshman season play in a Summerwood Bat League. I believe KJ is actually playing with the Lexington County Blowfish right now, and then getting able to just get more reps in, see different types of pitching, and then him getting to do this will basically have the same impact. It's just from more players and presumably better players.
So basketball news for you now. Elijah right there at the end, excuse me, of the hour in Jay or Nay, asked my opinion on Ace Bailey and the Jazz. Ace, according to the team, and this just came out within the last hour, will be reporting to Salt Lake City tomorrow. Quote, "We've had good communication with Ace Bailey and his representatives. We feel good about everything. Ace and his family are coming to Utah tomorrow. We'll have a press conference Sunday and a practice Monday." That is according to Jonathan Givony, who follows the NBA personnel movements in the draft for ESPN. There is no official word, though, from the team. That is from a team representative. I don't know. I don't know.
There's a lot about this I don't know. Like why one would want to play for the Wizards and Nets, but the Jazz is too far. Like that's the one you just refuse to go to. The one who was going to turn down the larger signing bonus because the draft slot, because you would rather play for, again, the Wizards or Nets. I really don't understand him also not working out for any team during the entire draft process, telling certain teams in high spots that would draft him not to draft him. Like, do you want more money? Do you like what do you want in all of this?
Like I said, I'm serious because you mentioned
he's been getting is terrible.
Yeah, you mentioned the Nets too, and I guess like I say, I don't know. He's from Atlanta. He played in Piscataway, which is not New York City.
Like he played for Rutgers on purpose.
Yeah. Chose Rutgers over. I mean, he could have played pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, exactly, anywhere he wanted.
So again, it's not. But again, do you want? Is it just that you want to live in Washington or New York City? Like again, I can understand that. Like I can give you that. You're going to be young. You're going to be wealthy. Now that the teams up there may be like, hey, dude, just because you live here and have a lot of money, please don't go out, all night, every night.
Get a good night's rest before we have to play the Hornets.
Yeah, but right. Is that Charlotte? The Hornets?
Allegedly.
Okay.
Maybe they're the Bobcats still. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what they are.
I love Adam Morrison. Gerald Wallace.
Kendall Gill ain't walking through that door.
There's Mecca Okafor.
But I don't know. It's just it's odd. And look, I mean, there's nothing. I think Salt Lake City's a fine town. They got big mountains and you can go skiing, and I mean they got a big Delta hub at their airport, so you can get anywhere you want to go.
You certainly have a fan base, at least in Utah.
Yeah.
They do really well in attendance.
Like I say, I don't know. I mean, I don't know I don't know. I mean, you really just might want to live in Washington or New York relative to living in Salt Lake City or somewhere else.
Here's the thing too, and this is where somebody who cares about him can give him some advice similar to this. I remember when I was about to graduate college, I had a professor tell a bunch of us, because we're in journalism, he said your first jobs are probably going to be in places you don't want to live, and you're probably going to be miserable. But remember think of it as this: it's an internship. You're probably going to sign, especially if you're going to TV, you'll sign a contract for a year. And you can keep applying for other jobs in other places. And when that year's over, the year will fly by faster than you realize.
Right.
You will get to go to another town. You will get to experience more. And you're not going to be permanently beholden to the first place that you go to once you walk across that stage and get your diploma. You're going to have opportunities that will come and go. And the first place you go to, no matter how miserable you are, it's not permanent. Ace Bailey's contract, his rookie deal, will have 2 years, guaranteed on it with an option for the third.
Right.
If he tells the team, I don't want to extend this contract, and you play well, you can have your pick of wherever you want to go. Yeah. You'll have another opportunity. You don't have to live there in the off season. You don't.
Right.
NBA has off season. You don't have to live there in the off season.
Like I said, being from Atlanta and a Delta hub, just they got flights to Atlanta.
Yeah, and what he's done now is made himself radioactive already.
Yeah.
To other teams that are watching this, because it's playing out so publicly that even if you do play really well in your first 2 or 3 years in Utah and you want to go somewhere else, a team might look at you and be like, no. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things too that you're starting to make a reputation for yourself in the league that you don't want to have.
Well, you better go play well to overcome it. I suppose that's the only thing. Speaking of NBA news, and I'll ask Elijah how we talked about it earlier, but again, for those of you just maybe getting in the car after work, of course, Colin Murray Boyles of South Carolina, and AC Flora, just drafted number 9 by the Toronto Raptors. And then earlier this morning, the team announced that their longtime, very successful vice chairman and president, Masai Ujiri, is out after 13 years. Now, the team says it is keeping what they have described as key front office personnel in place, including Bobby Webster, who has the title of general manager. But Elijah, knowing the league as you do, Bobby Webster has the title, but Bobby Webster is not the guy that is making those decisions. This has been Masai Ujiri, who helped the Toronto Raptors win a title with the Kawhi trade a few years ago. So what does this move, in your opinion, mean for Colin Murray Boyles? Does this have a big impact on him, or do we just not know yet?
Yeah, first off, for the Masai Ujiri thing, he is kind of like what Pat Riley is to the Miami Heat, right? I mean, he's the top executive, even if he's not the GM, right?
Everything goes across his desk.
Everything goes across his desk. And for Colin, this means the roster, based off what their salary cap situation is, they might not be able to add a ton, but the direction of the franchise might change, and there might be a difference in opinion between how Ujiri wanted Colin to be utilized and what his timeline for Colin was. And if this GM's not as patient, and maybe they put Colin in early, and there might be some early struggles, maybe he is more apt to put him in the G League for a while and move him down. I mean, that's one thing that can come with this. This is if him and Darko butt heads, who's the head coach for the Toronto Raptors, so say they start butting heads over the direction of the way the team looks and how strategically they want to be able to play from an X's and O's standpoint, and he might recommend Colin being in a different spot, that might not be as beneficial. That's the negative side, but who knows? I mean, this is one of those things, too, that if they do go in a different direction and they're able to add pieces around that complement him well, then it can be a benefit to him. It's just a thing that NBA rookies don't normally have to deal with, is having the guy who picked them get fired less than 2 days after he picked them.
Well, and clearly the ownership group, it's called Maple Leaf Sports. They own the Maple Leafs as well. That makes sense.
Shocker.
Knew this was coming. So, I mean, because you did it once the draft was completed. Since the draft technically ended yesterday with the second round. Again, they didn't want to have the second round on Wednesday. So, but like 18 people watched. I saw the ratings.
I mean, 18 dozens, like, what's the difference? There's a group of people out there that are yelling at the radio right now saying,
there are dozens of us. Dozens!
Well, good luck to Colin. I mean, look, he's still going to go up there. He's still going to be handsomely paid. He's still going to have a lot on his shoulders. He'll be fine, but it's just it's a weird turn.
It's a weird thing for a franchise to do right after the draft, as opposed to just firing the executive after the season ended and having the new decision maker get the entire pre-draft process to do whatever he wanted to do with the team.
Braves fell to the Mets last night, so they split the series in New York. 7 games against the Metropolitans over the last week. Braves went 5-2 last night. Brian Snitker saying, we really needed to go 7-0. That's a big ask, but you did have that opportunity because you were at 5-0. But not so good last night as the Braves were blanked. They're back home tonight to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Once again, I'm surprised. I don't know if I should be. Atlanta is the favorite in this game at -180 to Philadelphia's +150. Mick Abel will go for the Phils. He's 2-1 with a 3.47, just 23 1/3, so still a guy who's finding his way through the bigs. Bryce Elder will start for Atlanta. He is 2-4 with a 4.77, 66 innings pitched. 55 strikeouts, 20 walks for Bryce Elder, 7:15 first pitch over at Truist.
Big series.
Go Braves. Don't get swept.
Would you rather say go Phillies?
No.
And say it with a little more conviction.
Go Braves.
Say it with your chest,
Go Braves.
Jay Phillips. There you go.
I'm pulling for him.
There you go.
I'm trying, but it's hard, man. It's just they're so far back, even in the wild card chase, and you haven't for a minute there you saw that spark. Like this is twice this year where you've kind of seen that spark, and then you can't quite get it to turn into the blazing campfire that you want. It's just not there, and I'm not sure if it's coming this year. And again, they haven't done anything to that bullpen.
They're going to need to.
Yeah.
Trade deadline's going to be coming
I
up.
mean, you want to know why the Braves have been. I mean, look, the Braves have been good for a lot of reasons. Don't get me wrong. But one of the reasons that the Braves have been at a championship caliber level the last few seasons is because they had the best bullpen in baseball.
It was reliable.
Yeah. You know, and they just got stuff done, and they're just not doing that right now. But again, 7:15 first pitch. That is our integrated media headlines of the day. 803-948-8327 for all your home theater needs and so much more. Get ahead of the football rush. Call our good friends at Integrated Media. If you missed it yesterday, Coach Lamont Paris was with Elijah and me talking about CMB's draft. We'll get into a little bit of that, maybe some extra advice that he had. Plus, it is Top 5 Friday. Top 5 superhero movies. Very few wrong answers. Actually, only one wrong answer. If you say Batman and Robin starring George Clooney, then that's a wrong answer.
Please do it. Somebody, please. I
know. Somebody, again, if you want to spite me, go ahead. I'll just laugh at you, tell you how wrong you are.
I'm going to get an entire army of people to put this on their list.
The only way you could do anything to scare me about that is if George Clooney and or Arnold Schwarzenegger walked into this room. Then I might change my mind. This is the postgame show. Welcome back in. 20 minutes after 5 o'clock on this Friday. I know it's a Friday afternoon. I know many of you will be headed on vacation for the holiday week, so I don't want to, if you're a college sports fan, bring you down too much here. But I just saw this tweet from a guy named Scott Schneider, who is a law professor at the University of Texas.
No relation to Rob.
Not that I know of. Not that they don't look much alike, but you never know.
You never know.
The NCAA spent $400 million on lawyers last year. Money that could have fully funded every Olympic sport, upgraded facilities nationwide, or paid for actual athlete care. They are now on the hook for more than $1 billion in legal fees.
Wow, I don't know who spends more money to lose, the NCAA or Texas A&M, am I right?
So, and an attorney named Tom Mars, who follows a lot of college litigation, followed up with that. The NCAA spent more money on lawyers last year than did Walmart, the world's largest company, which also has the largest inventory of active litigation in the United States. And still, the NCAA, he writes, managed to lose most of its cases. The NCAA spent more money on legal fees than Walmart.
And they knew they were going to lose.
Yeah, that's just
the
it.
worst part.
You knew you were going. You knew you were fighting for something that you want to keep. I get it. I know this is not apples to apples, but it's like if your house is burning down and you got a garden hose, and you want to keep your house. I get it, buddy. It's burning. You need to run out.
Yeah.
Again, I know that's not an apples to apples, but it's like that's the fight you had in NCAA. The house is burning.
You know, they could have used some of that $400 million on? Distributing it to schools to use as revenue share.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of money they could have used, too. Wow. They could have funded a lot of stuff with that. A lot of stuff. Greed is a powerful drug.
We've talked for a while about just how futile some of this has been. And again, believe me, this is not a defense of the NCAA's stance on things. I've not agreed with most of it in a long time. As I say, I can appreciate that you want to take a stand for what you believe. Okay, good for you. Yeah, sure, okay. But like I said, at some point, when there are multiple people looking you in the eye going, brother, you're going to lose.
At some point, you're hurting your organization.
Yeah.
Actively.
Yeah. And then you're spending think of it. Where does this money come from? Everybody says, the cash cow is the men's basketball tournament. Maybe this is why they're going to expand Elijah Campbell. Because they need the money.
Because they were too stupid with their money.
So like I said, sorry to bring you all down. Maybe it brings you up. I don't know. You just go like, meh, like Nelson in The Simpsons.
Where you get to now openly mock them.
Remember
now whenever they cry broke, and the organization continues to cry broke, we can say, you had $400 million.
So remember the
fees.
I do, but you might not. But I remember the episode where they're in like Bart's treehouse and Milhouse falls out of the treehouse. And Nelson, all the kids are there. And Nelson's there, and somebody says like, I think he's really hurt. And Nelson goes, I said, man.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So Milhouse is the NCAA. It's like, I think
Milhouse is. I think he's really
like
hurt.
his arms turned in the wrong direction.
I think the NCAA is really hurt.
I said, man, like, what do you want?
I didn't even give it. I didn't say it with my full chest.
Right. He does. That's what he does. He laughs at it. It's funny. He falls out of a treehouse. It's funny. Not really. Sorry. All right. Cut number 3 on today's list, please, Elijah Campbell. Coach Lamont Paris was with us yesterday. We always appreciate Lamont's time. And, we asked him just, what people are getting when you see a guy that is so complete in so many facets like Colin Murray-Boyles.
Well, pretty early on in the process, that you could tell that there was a unique blend of, you saw some of this in the recruiting process, and that's why we took him. But you could tell there was a unique blend of feel, of competitiveness, of team. I mean, he's the ultimate team player. The ultimate team player. I found myself, over this last year especially, and it's not like I sit around thinking about the glory days and what it would be like to be able to play basketball again. But because of who he is, I will have to say 5 times maybe or so, I found myself just thinking, be like, man, this guy would be a great teammate. I'd love to go back and be a teammate with this guy. And so that he's got the mind of a servant. It's like servant leadership. And he was able to blend in immediately because of that. He's non-threatening to anyone. He hangs his hat on the defensive side of the ball, so he's always doing all the things that clearly every coach in the history, or most of them in the history of basketball, have said, hey, this is how you win consistently, is that you defend. So he's interested in winning. And he's a good player. But because he was able to do those things, he was able to come in on a veteran team that won 26 games and play a significant role even as a 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old guy as a freshman.
It's, we talked earlier about what the administrative change may mean for Colin, but eventually, Elijah, as you also pointed out, this is all going to come down to basketball. And quite honestly, I think in that kind of answer from Lamont, we're going to see probably a guy in Colin who and for lack of a better way to say it, all right, let's roll with it. Let's see. He does have that versatility. Mm-hmm. And I think, too, one of the things that was interesting is, even if, let's put it this way, even if Masai Ujiri is the guy who's making the bulk of the decisions, perhaps when it comes to the draft, especially when you have a top 10 pick and that's a lot of money, it might have gone above his level as well, right? And at that point, someone could say, people are wanting to trade with us? Yeah, nah, we're good. So everybody stood pat. So regardless, this is their guy. Absolutely.
Yeah, and like Lamont told us yesterday, too, plenty of teams that were picking behind Toronto called Lamont to get intel on Colin, and they made it very clear that they really hope he falls to them at that spot, that he'd be available for whenever they drafted. I think Colin's mindset and everything that Lamont laid out there is one of the reasons that made him such a valuable prospect, too. It's not just what he does on the floor. And, of course, his attitude towards the game is reflected in how he plays, because he's always making the right basketball pass. He's always making the right play, when to shoot, when to pass, when to defend on help side, when to help players out. And if you just even didn't watch the games, you just looked at box scores and then you listened to press conferences afterwards, kid took a lot of blame for things that weren't his fault.
Yeah.
Like, he takes accountability for how his team does. He is a very team-oriented individual. He could have had the best game. I mean, I remember, the press conference after the Florida loss, right, where he shouldered a lot of that blame. The press conference after the Auburn loss, where he had a phenomenal game and, quite frankly, gave Janai Broome the business in that game. They just didn't pull it out as a team, and you'd have never known that he played well just by listening to him talk afterwards. That's the kind of guy and the kind of athlete that Colin is, and that's got to be very attractive to have that type of emotional maturity going into your NBA career, and that's why I think a lot of teams really did fall in love with him throughout the process.
Good stuff there. Colin, one of 13 SEC players taken over the last couple of nights. We'll fill you in on the rest of them, including a big night for the SEC in round 2. Drive around the SEC is next.
From the Wetzel's Automotive Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon, starting with one on Congaree Road near Air Base Road, Dooley Road at Two Notch Road, Emmanuel Church Road at Old Barnwell Road, Killian Road near I-77, Platte Springs Road at South Lake Drive, Two Notch Road near Taylor Street and Forest Drive, and then 2 accidents on Two Notch Road, one at North Grampian Hills Road, the other at Kelly Mill Road.
Welcome back in. It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Friday. Jay and Elijah with you, 803-404-6100. Still a little bit of time left if you want to weigh in on your top 5 Friday topic, top 5 superhero movies.
We got some good responses here in the text line as well.
So we'll get a few quick things out of the SEC and then do a bunch of that. Did you check? I know Wetzel's likes us to find out, or likes you to find out what national day it is. Do we know what national day it is?
Yeah, I don't know. They have bestowed the power to me to.
Right. Can you just create things? Can you make it whatever you want?
Well, I get to pick because there's sometimes there are different things for different days. So sometimes if I like one better than the other,
right?
Like June 17th, it's National Mascot Day and National Eat Your Vegetables Day. Buddy, my mom made me eat my vegetables enough as a kid that I don't want to have to tell everybody else to. That's not my job.
That's fair.
It's not my job to tell you to eat your vegetables.
That's fair.
If you're listening in the car right now with one of your parents, that's their job to tell you to do that. You don't need to hear it from me. You've probably heard it enough in your lifetime already. So I chose to do National Mascot Day and give Cocky a shout out for being one of the genuinely best mascots in collegiate athletics.
That's
but
fair.
Today's the 27th, right? Yeah, I knew that. I didn't even have to ask. It's National Sunglasses Day.
Ooh, I like sunglasses.
It's also National PTSD Awareness Day.
You should help people out with that.
Absolutely.
All right. Yesterday was National Coconut Day, and you don't like coconut.
I don't love it. Now, some coconut flavoring's fine, but
Yeah.
I just like coconut shavings on things. I don't like it. I don't love the texture.
I get it.
Like
I said, I was indoctrinated at an early age because my great-grandma, my mom's mom, lived near my grandparents, and she made coconut cake. Like, that was her thing. So from a young age, I was, I was like,
You're
oh, this is normal.
I remember having coconut cake at a young age, and immediately, I think it's just the texture. I think
It is.
subliminally it's the texture thing.
It absolutely is.
I remember like eating it and doing the
Yeah.
thing like you're doing, making funny faces and your tongue's doing weird stuff and your body feels weird. Yeah, that's
The
kind of
thing is, I don't know how coconut cake became so southern because we don't have coconuts.
No,
So I don't know how.
I ain't seen any around here.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Not yet, at least.
SEC draft picks. We talked a lot yesterday about the first round picks. We'll do them again for you. Trey Johnson went number 6. He'll play for Washington out of Texas. Jeremiah Fears right behind him from Oklahoma.
He will be wearing a number 0, so there will be jerseys that say 0 fears on them. That's going to be a big seller.
That is good, actually.
Going to be a big seller.
But he's playing for New Orleans. Colin Murray Boyles, of course, number 9 to Toronto. Walter Clayton went number 18 overall. He'll be playing for Utah with Ace Bailey. Have fun, Walter. And Asen Newell of the Georgia Bulldogs is going to stay home-ish and play for the Atlanta Hawks. He was picked at number 23 last night. Janai Broom went number 35 to the Sixers. Right behind him, Adu Thero from Arkansas to the Lakers. Congratulations.
I'm excited about that.
Hope you like taxes.
Good athlete.
Chaz Lanier, who I like from Tennessee, is going to play in Detroit. He was picked at number 37. Elijah Martin of Florida.
Spelled with an A.
That's right. No relation.
No relation.
He's also going to play for the Toronto Raptors. Again, picked at number 39. Kentucky's Kobe Bray at number 41 to Phoenix. Amari Williams of Kentucky, number 46 to Boston. Will Richard of Florida to the Golden State Warriors with pick number 56. And the next to last pick of the draft, Jemiah Mashak of Tennessee, will also stay home-ish and play for the Memphis Grizzlies on the other side of I-40 in Tennessee. I don't know where Jemiah is from originally, so I couldn't tell you
either.
how home it is.
But that was actually the last pick. He is the most irrelevant because we're not 60 picks this year because the Knicks pick got forfeited because of some tampering when they acquired Jalen Brunson.
Rocking Jimmy Dolan, finding a way.
Finding a way to mess it up. Somehow, he will find a way to mess it up. But
which of these second-round picks do you like the best real quick there, Mr. Campbell?
To me, it's the two Kentucky guys.
Yeah.
I think, and here's the thing: they had been drafted in the first round if they were older or younger. If the fact that they are older college basketball players, I think, is one of the reasons why.
That doesn't make sense to me. I get it, but it doesn't make sense.
And for somebody like Amari Williams, who gets to go play in Boston, that might give them a chance to get somebody that can help you right now. Because Amari Williams, I almost view as the same archetype as Colin. He is a great passer from the high post.
Yep.
They ran a lot of zoom action at Kentucky, which is something that you do see a lot at the NBA level as well, and he is fantastic from that in terms of dribble handoffs and then rolling to the basket. Good playmaker, good off the bounce. Doesn't have a great three-point shot, but he can score around the rim, and he's got some really good athleticism. Here's my thing about Amari Williams. I don't know how great of a defensive player he is. Kentucky wasn't a good defensive team at all last year, but they played a very conservative defense. They played a lot of drop coverage. He's probably going to be asked to maybe be more aggressive defensively. I think that could be trained into him. And if that's the case, because here's the thing, Colin is just such a significantly better defender, and he was asked to be a better defender in college. But if Amari Williams can do that, I can see him at some point in the season playing a small role for the Celtics already. And Kobe Bryant is probably the best shooter in the draft. I mean, this is a guy that for his entire college career, Jay Phillips, was shooting well over 40%. And his last year at Dayton was almost at 50% from three. He's good shooting off balance. He's good shooting off the catch, off the dribble. He is the best three-point shooter in this draft in terms of just pure three-point shooter. Now, to ask him to do anything else, probably not much. But there is a role for those guys that are three-point specialists. And for the Golden State Warriors, for a team that did bring in Jimmy Butler, who not a good three-point shooter, if you want to get somebody to come off the bench and give you 8 to 10 minutes a night and give him 3 or 4 threes a game, he can hit you 2 of them.
That's the only way he's going to get the ball on that team is if he's coming off the bench when Bradley Beal or Devin Booker's on the bench.
That's right. I forget he's in Phoenix. Yeah, just kidding. I'm looking at the logo right now. I saw Golden State. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, absolutely. They're the only way, coming off the bench.
Hope you don't like sharing the ball.
Yeah. Actually, I hate the fit for him, but I do love that for Phoenix to get him a shooter. And look, and that's what Phoenix used to get to the finals back a few years ago was they got some role players. Like Cam Johnson was one of those guys. Didn't really do much outside of shooting when he was in college, but they developed him a little bit. You need guys that can be three-point specialists in the NBA, and the Suns need all the offensive help they can get. So if you can get somebody off the bench who can be reliable to play every night and be able to get you a couple threes, that's going to help you over the course of an 82-game season.
All right, well, they're still in the segment, but let's switch over again. It's Top 5 Friday, Top 5 Superhero Movies. We'll give you ours coming up on the other side of the break, but let's get to a few on the Firehouse Subs text line because a lot of you weighed in.
Yes, anonymous texter here says, just off the top of my head, clearly I'm a Marvel guy, Spider-Man in 2002 is number 1. Right. Thor in 2011, number 2.
I like that one.
Iron Man, the first one, 08.
I like that one a lot.
Spider-Man Homecoming in 2017. Okay. I think that's the animated one.
Okay.
And then Black Widow 2021.
Didn't see that. Is that
I haven't seen that either.
Is that Scarlett Johansson? Is she Black Widow?
Is she?
I'll find out.
Yeah.
You keep reading.
You're the crack staff on it. Paul on the text line says number 1.
I know a lot of you were screaming at your radio, by the way, if she is or isn't. But.
Yeah, don't yell at me. Yell at Jay. Paul on the text on the Firehouse Subs text line says Avengers Infinity War, number 1. I can't read, man. Number 2, The Dark Knight. Great call, Paul. Number 3, Thor Ragnarok. Number 4, Iron Man. And 5, X-Men Days of Future Past.
I like but the first 2. I know that he's been in other, but I like the first 2 Iron Mans are really good, man.
And it looks like we have a text here too. And you know what? This person gave their name and a pronunciation guide to their name. So thank you to Ira Rubenstein for giving the list. And of course, Ira went from 5 to 1, which I appreciate. Number 5, Sky High.
Okay.
Fun movie.
Okay.
And they are superheroes. They're training to be superheroes.
Okay.
Highlander at 4. Batman Begins at 3. Hancock at 2. Underrated.
Hancock.
I like Hancock.
Yeah,
a lot.
Will Smith.
That's a high quality Will Smith movie.
Yeah.
Great theater experience.
Yeah. Okay.
And number 1, Mystery Men, with an honorable mention of Greatest American Hero.
Greatest American Hero. What a great TV show. Yeah, I thought, Scarlett Johansson, because she's in that Iron Man movie. Yeah, she's Black Widow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Mrs. Jost.
Yeah, that's what she is, yeah.
She is now. That's right. So, good stuff. All right, let me get a couple more here on the Twitters, if you all will bear with me one second. Daryl, I think is how I pronounce your name. I hope so. Or Darrell. I don't know which. But Dark Knight, Iron Man, 1989, Batman, Superman 2, which I do like a lot. That's the Christopher Reeve second one with the bad guys from the Phantom Zone. And Logan. That's kind of
yes.
That's the Wolverine movie. What is that? I didn't see that. Is that like an origin?
I think it is.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
And let me get to one more that I had here. Randy, our buddy Randy. Dark Knight.
Good call.
I'll go 5 to 1, actually. Logan, he had at 5. Batman, 1989, Michael Keaton. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse at 3. Avengers Endgame 2. Dark Knight, number 1.
Yes.
All right, there you go. All right, we'll give you ours on the other side. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show here on this Friday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you. Top 5 Friday, top 5 superhero movies. Thanks to all of you who have weighed in. I don't know. It was hard. We don't have a full tally, do we? Maybe that comes a little later because we'll have to see who won today. I feel like there's a lot of good Batmans in there.
The Dark Knight's got the most.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. You want me to go first?
Absolutely.
Okay. 5-1 is what you like, right? So we'll do that.
No, that's the best way to build the
All
drama.
right. Listen, y'all are going to go like, really, dude? Okay. So again, I could go a lot of different directions, but this is all personal preference. Number 5, the Spider-Man with the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. Again, with Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. That's a good movie. I like that one.
It was good. I liked it. Yeah.
Number 4, Batman Returns. Michael Keaton's second. That's with Danny DeVito as the Penguin, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, Christopher Walken as the almost bad guy, Max Schreck. He was good in that. He's kind of a bad guy, but he wasn't the bad guy. Number 3, Batman Begins with Christian Bale, the first one. Let me tell you why I like this one as much as any of the others. I like them all. All 3 were great. But the training sequence with Liam Neeson, I was like, man, Qui-Gon Jinn trained Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Bruce Wayne.
Talk about a coaching tree.
I mean,
move over, Dean Smith.
That's what I remember a buddy of mine and I going, man, Qui-Gon trained everybody. But it's like the same
trainer.
dude.
Yeah, the ultimate trainer of people in movies.
But I love that sequence. I thought that was great. So those are good. But Christian Bale was excellent as Bruce Wayne and Batman. Number 2, the original Superman movie from the late 70s, the Christopher Reeve, still just has a soft spot in young Jay Phillips' heart. Because, man, that dude was flying. I was like, man, that guy can fly. Look at that. I love that movie.
People aren't supposed to go flying through the air like that, Jackie.
That was awesome. But number 1 is Michael Keaton's Batman, the first, with Jack Nicholson as the Joker. That was high school me, and I was so excited for that to come out. And I really loved the way Tim Burton turned Batman into what Batman was. No Robin, just let's have Batman.
Jack Nicholson's great.
He was
the soundtrack.
Cast. Prince, amazing. Danny Elfman's score, amazing. So that's it for me. All right, what you got?
I originally had The Incredibles at number 5, but after much thought, I figured I had to have the movie that this came from in it.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Yes. So I put Batman and Robin there at number 5.
Oh, God.
What other movie's going to deliver
You're
that
lying.
line? What other movie's delivering that line right there?
That's true. They wrote it for Arnold. That was still his classic, like.
There is, on YouTube right now, I'm looking at an almost 2-minute compilation of all the ice puns by Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze on here. I'm bought in. If I'm on Batman and Robin Island, I'll be on Batman and Robin Island. Truly a terrible movie, but you know what? I still find it as a fun watch.
All right.
Number 4,
yes.
Kick-Ass.
Okay.
One of my favorite superhero movies. It's very good. Number 3, Watchmen. Very disappointed. I have not seen Watchmen on anybody's list.
Okay. Well, it's on yours.
Number 2, the Batman movie, 1989.
Yep.
And then number 1, The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger as the Joker. Best movie villain.
He might have been.
Cinema.
Might have been. That's a great one. Good stuff. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to our good friend David Cloniger. For those of you heading out on vacation, enjoy the week. And we'll do it again soon. For Elijah, I'm Jay. See ya.